Hello fellow artists and art lovers, I'm Matt from Magic Art and More. In this video I'll be covering how I made my first ever green screen stop motion animation using custom painted toys. If you want to see me customize these toys, I'll leave a link to a video in the description covering that. I'm going to be perfectly honest by saying that I do not have much experience in green screen or stop motion. Before making this animation, my only experience with green screen was a brief introduction in college. And while I could have taken an elective to learn more about green screen, I decided to take another course instead at the time. My only experience with stop motion before this were very simple skits like the ones in previous videos on this channel, and not nearly as complex as what I need to do for this video. Because of my limited experience in both these areas, a lot of the process of making this animation had to be learned along the way, so it's entirely possible that some of the ways I chose to make this animation are not the easiest or most efficient way possible. However, I decided I should make a video covering how I went about this, as there isn't too many videos online covering how to create something like this all in one video, and I had to watch dozens of tutorials to cobble together the knowledge necessary to create this video. Hopefully, this will be helpful to help many of you create your own green screen stop motion animations should you desire to. Before I get into the process of making this video, I would like to list out some materials and pre-recordings I used to make this so you can have it all in one place. First thing you will need is some toys stacked at your scenes and some display stands to hold them in place when you take pictures. The next thing is a solid color backdrop of some kind to take your photos on that you can edit out and replace later. You'll also need a camera. I used a Canon M50 for this video, but a cell phone camera should work just fine as well. Make sure you also have a tripod for your camera, as you'll need it to hold still in the same position when you take your photos. You should also have good flat lighting, as a green screen does not work well with uneven lighting full of shadows. I used a couple of clip lamps clipped to my desk to achieve this. The main digital programs I use for this are Resolve and Blender. Both DaVinci Resolve and Blender are free programs. You also need a simple photo editor app, a way to record audio, some folders to organize your footage, as there'll be quite a lot to organize depending on how many scenes you make. And you'll also need some kind of drawing app to edit the photos more if necessary, as well as some way to write down your script, be it a Word app or perhaps just a piece of paper and a pen. And now, with all that out of the way, on with the show. The first thing I did for this video was make my backdrops. I cut a slab of a couple of old cardboard boxes and glued the bottom flaps down so the box could not fall apart. Then I painted each one a solid color, one blue and one green, using as many coats of paint as necessary to make sure there was a flat, even, consistent color across the entire backdrop. I started writing a script for my story. After the script was written, I then started setting up for my scene with the lights and my camera. And I began taking photos of the toys, moving them little by little, each picture, and using display stands when necessary. To determine which backdrop worked best for each figure, I took a single picture of each toy on each backdrop into Resolve and did a brief keying process to figure which would work better. I'll say more about keying in a little bit. I took photos of each toy separately for the most part. That way, any scaling issues could be resolved later that were present in the toys, and each toy could be also on a backdrop that suited them best. If possible, it's a good idea to try to take all your photos with the entirety of the toy in frame as well. It will save you a lot of struggle later when attempting to line things up, whichever. Once I had finished taking all the photos and stored all the scenes into proper folders on my computer, I used a photo editing app to blur out and erase the figure stands from the photos to the best of my ability, and brought the image sequences into Blender's video editor, running them back out as images using the Save as PNG function. That way, the numbering on the photos would be consistent, save me the confusion of wondering why sequences are cut off partway through due to numbering issues, and the time it would take me to renumber them individually. This also has the bonus effect of turning the photos into an aspect ratio which can be processed by editing platforms such as the free version of DaVinci Resolve. Once my photos are properly renamed, I opened up a 2D animation scene in Blender and set my scenes as a backdrop, adjusting the transparency so it was fully visible. I then went through frame by frame and covered up any remnant of display stands left using blobs the same color as the backdrop. Once I was sure the scene was ready, I set Blender to render it out as the sequence of images and went over the compositing tab to make sure the background would render out with it and not just a blob of color. Starting by turning on Use Nodes and importing in the original image sequence, hooking it up to the bottom slot of an alpha overnode. And then you can connect alpha overnode to the compositing node with alpha turned on. I then added a scale node and set it to render size. and put that between the image sequence and the alpha over nodes. This series of nodes ensures the background image sequence renders as well, and then rendered out each new scene. With all of the footage ready to be keyed, then brought into DaVinci Resolve. In order to bring your image sequence in as a video, you can go to the Media tab at the bottom of the screen, 3 dots beside your magnifying glass, go to Display Mode and click on Sequence. You can also right-click on your clips and go to Clip Attributes and then adjust your frame rate to make your video the proper frame rate. If your footage is way too fast or way too slow in areas, you can simply cut on either side of the affected area, then click on it and use Command Control R. This will bring up a speed control area which allows you to control the percentage of the speed and adjust the clip length accordingly. After this, I went to the Fusion tab, add a Delta Keyer node to the scene, and set the color to the backdrop color. I can then use the threshold controls in the Matte tab, as well as the clean background and foreground sliders to ensure that the background is moved as much as possible or start moving the toy. I found that when not in all cases, a lot of times changing the replace mode from soft to source help with color change issues as well. I could then get rid of the black bars on the other side by using a cropping node, center that to it so it would stay centered, and then add some polygons where any areas are disappearing or changing color I want to keep in the original form. Then right click and drag them to the Delta Keyer and select the Effect Mask option. I selected the Invert function as effect nodes that come on and do the reverse thing by default. Going along frame by frame, I can then adjust the position of the mask to new forms of location. It's important to note that when you adjust your mask, Resolve will automatically adjust the foreign locations made across the previous frames as an animation for gradual change. That's a good idea to move a very small part of your mask in a barely noticeable way on the frame right before a location or shape change so that your mask won't have any unwanted movement. Using multiple effects masks, you can plug the nodes into each other by setting the paint mode to subtract and turn on the invert button on the final polygon, leaving it off on all the other ones. In some cases, I find a solid mask works better than effect mask, so I use those when needed. Solid mask, make sure a polygon does not get that far out of frame or everything in the scene will disappear. Instead, leave it on an area you want to stay unaltered, even if it's not in need of change at a particular time. If you're using solid mask, you can also use a merge button to help bring them together, unlike the effect mask, which a merge will not work on. If you have areas in your frames that you would like to disappear that did not, you can also add a polygon to your Delta Keyer and set it as a garbage mat, then animate it just like the effect mask and solid mask. Once I was satisfied with my animations, then I had a saver node to end my node chain right before output, and used the browse button to find where I wanted to put it and give it a name. It's important to remember to add a .png or whatever other file format you want to use to your title before when you name it, or it will not save. Do this for each new save as well, or changes will not be saved. Once your saver is named, go up to the Fusion option and select Render All Savers. With the keying done, I then brought any pictures needed additional edits to a drawing app and erased or doing what was needed, and then saved the picture with the background layer turned off so I keep my transparent background. I use Sketchbook for this, but any drawing app should work fine. Now that all of the frames of my animation is ready, I then went over to Blender and began to construct a new location for them to take place in, starting by modeling and texturing some backdrops. I am not going to focus on how to make the backdrops here, as this video is focused on the stop motion green screen process. But it is very easy to find tutorials for 3D modeling, texturing, and animation in Blender elsewhere if you want to look it up. Before moving on, I will also note that Blender has its own green screening function, which I could have used, but I decided to use Resolve instead as I find it personally easier to use. Once these scenes were ready with the background, lights, and any other 3D object I needed, I could then import my images sequences in using the Images as Planes function, which need to be turned on in the add-ons of the older Blender versions, but can now be added by default in Blender 4.2 by going to the Add menu and going to Image and then selecting Mesh Plane. After selecting this option, you can navigate to your scene, select all the required images, and make sure you check the Text Image Sequence button before importing. If you do not check this function, all the frames will import as separate images rather than an animation. Once you have your scene imported, you can scale it accordingly to fit your scene and then import as many other image sequences as you need. For older versions of Blender, set your alpha mode to alpha blend, alpha hash, or alpha clip, and turn on backface culling and set your shadow mode to alpha blend, alpha clip, or alpha hashed. For Blender 4.2, you can use the diver render method Turn on transparency overlap and transparent shadows. This will ensure that the images render correctly. This function may already be on by default, but I decided to list it just in case. If you need to adjust the start and end times of any image sequence, you can go to the Shading tab and change the start frame, as well as just the number of frames to cut out, off, or lengthen your animation. It's important to note that while the animation is yet to start or has ran out of frames, it will appear as a purple blob rather than your animation, so it's a good idea to import a few single frames as well you can swap in when the animation is not running. You can use 0 on the numpad to go into the camera view and make sure everything is in frame, as well as use basic move, scale, and rotate 3D animation techniques to swap images in and out and move them across the screen. You can even have them interact with 3D animation objects, such as the scene I made of Bowser breaking out of his cage. If the image sequence is not casting shadows correctly, you may need to create a shadow catcher. Add a plane to be your shadow catcher. I'm using Eevee for my render method here, so that's what I'll be showing in this video, but there's a good chance you can find tutorials in the technical settings for shadow catchers if you prefer to use that. Under Render tab, go to Render and turn on Shadows, and under Film, turn on Transparent. You'll also need to turn on Ray Tracing for Blender 4.2. In the Material tab of your plane, you limit your next changes. Roll the versions of Blender, set your Alpha Mode to Alpha Blend, and turn on Backface Culling. Then set Shadow Mode to None, as well as turning on Transparent Shadows. For Blender 4.2, use the Blended Render method, turn Transparency Overlap, and Transparent Shadows. You can then set up the nodes. Delete all nodes except for the output and add a diffuse BSDF and plug it into a shader to RGB node. Then connect that to an inverted color ramp. Next, add another diffuse, make it the color you want to see your shadows, and add a transparent BSDF node. You can then add a mix shader node and plug the color ramp into the factor, the shadow color diffuse into the first shader slot, and then a transparent into the bottom slot, and plug the mix shader into the output. Under 4.2, you need to add a few additional nodes. Add a light path node, another diffuse, and a mix shader. Plug the shadow ray option of the light path into the factor, and the diffuse into the second shader slot. You can add your previous mix shader and put it into the first shader slot, and then put the end result into the output. After this, you can move, scale, and rotate your plane around, as well as play with the color ramp values until your shadow looks correct. You can also animate the movement, rotation, and scale of your plane to make sure it's properly placed for each frame. You may need to have separate shadow catcher nodes for each character and object as well, depending on how everything is placed. After all parts of your scene looks right, you can then go to the Print tab and select your file location, set the file format to PNG, and make sure to turn the RGBA option as well as to render out your transparency properly. You can then render out your animation. With the animation rendered, I then went to Sketchbook and made any edits to any frames needed, like drawing in parts that are cut off or cleaning up shadows. When I was finished with this, I take all my clips into Resolve and organize them, then render out a video. I then opened up a new Blender 2D animation file and set the video as my backdrop and changed transparency to make it fully visible. I went along frame by frame, doing any additional element I wanted in my animation. After this, I went to the Compositing tab to make sure it would render out the background as well, starting by turning on the Use node and importing my original image sequence and hooking that up to the bottom slot of an alpha over node, connecting that to a compositing node with the alpha over turned on. I then added a scale node set to render size between the image sequence and the alpha over node. This will ensure the background image sequence renders as well. Then rendered it as a PNG sequence. With the video now done, I recorded some audio and edited my video and audio in Resolve and rendered out my video. Here is my first ever green screen stop motion animation. Before showing the skit, I do want to say that I am aware this skit is not perfect in quite a few areas. However, I spent so long on it now, I just want to get it out there. So, with that in mind, here's the skit.
Finally! With this spell I can finally rid myself of that miserable old He-Man once and for all. By summoning a force so powerful, He-Man won't dare try to stop me!
Are you sure that's a good idea, Skeletor?
Of course I'm sure, you fur bone. It's my idea!
But don't you think we should test it first?
Bah! That sounds ridiculous! I am Skeletor. I need no test. My plans are flawless, as always. Now be quiet, you fool. I need to concentrate.
Sure, whatever. Just don't blame me when something goes wrong. Like always.
What was that, Beastman?
Nothing, Skeletor.
I thought so. Now, shut up! Yes, that's it. Come to me, my new evil warrior.
Greetings, Beast Press Alice Portal. I am Ninja. Here to all the future scum and villainy.
Well, not quite what I had planned, but I can make this work, I guess. I am Skeletor! I have summoned you here to help me get rid of a menace! A menace named Randor! He stole what was rightfully mine! My kingdom! And I need you to help me get it back!
Defeat evildoers. That is what I do.
Yes! You see, I need your help because he has evil champions called the Masters of the Universe, led by He-Man.
Anything that comes with Master Universe does sound pretty evil. I, Ninja, will help you in your cause. But if we are to defeat these villains and they are as powerful as you say, we will need more allies.
But of course! In fact, I was just planning on summoning some more right now.
Why, Peach? Why? I loved you. I even wrote a song. You are betrayed by someone you love? How awful! Who are you?
I am Skeletor, and I have summoned you here to help me defeat a menace known as He-Man.
I cannot help you. I have no power.
Oh, well, you see, there is no problem. My little hammock staff here can restore all your power, whatever it may have been, my small little turtle friend. All you have to do is help me.
My name is Bowser, and I guess I have no choice.
Ah, excellent. I knew you'd see it my way.
I feel big again!
Excellent. Now, for our next member.
Who are you? Where am I? What's going on here?
I am Skeletor, my dear.
Are you some kind of supervillain or something? I won't hesitate to stop you if you are.
Supervillain? Oh, nothing of the sort. I am just a humble man, wanting to get back what is mine. And I would like your help to do so, my dear.
Okay. I guess I could help you, but you better not be lying to me.
Within dream of it. Now, one more member, I believe. Power! I says power! Give me the power now! I like this one, Beastman.
You would?
Here is your power, my robotic friend. You help me, and I'll give you a little taste. Well, of course, noble hooded man.
And might I say, the lack of clothes is a bold choice amongst you fleshlings, but you make it work!
Why, thank you! Finally, someone who appreciates my good looks. Hey, when you look as good as I do, why not flaunt it? We all know that miserable old He-Man does. And now, let us go and defeat He-Man!
And remember, kids, never take drugs without your parents or without you trust permission.
Sorry to interrupt, He-Man, but Skeletor's outside.
Skeletor? Oh, come on! Duncan, let's go! Right. I don't know what you have planned, Skeletor, but I'll stop you.
Planned, He-Man? Why, just taking back my kingdom. That's all.
Eternia is not your kingdom, Skeletor, and it never will be, not as long as I stand here to defeat you.
Oh, He-Man, you make me laugh. Now, attack!
Give it up, Man-at-Arms. You're outnumbered. That may be, Beastman, but I will never stop trying to defeat evil people like you. Evil? You dare speak of evil? I was told you were the evil one, and lying really burns me up. Ninja power, no! Behold the power of Ninja!
Hiya!
Nice moves. Thanks. Never thought I'd hear a comment one of Skeletor's evil warriors. Evil? You notice you guys are the evil ones. Skeletor? Not evil? That is hilarious. Skeletor is as evil as they come. He's tried to take over the world like 18 million times. I may have made the wrong choice here. Yeah, I'd say so. But how do I know which one of you to trust? You could be lying to me as well. Well, just give it time. You'll see who the real heroes are. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Nice team you got here, Skeletor.
Bah! They fit purpose, He-Man, and that purpose is to defeat you.
Oof! You'll have to do a lot better than that, bonehead.
Ah! Bonehead! Ah! I may be a bonehead, He-Man, but I do know you always have to be the hero, and that gives me more than enough time to figure out how to defeat you another time. You'll be too busy saving that child.
Skeletor, you wouldn't.
Wouldn't I?
Hold on!
He-Man?
You're safe now. Now, hurry, get the safe. Skeletor, you monster! He-Man just saved that child! I have been deceived. Skeletor's good at doing that. And what about you, Turtle? All I see here is that He-Man would waste his time saving children. Fennec! Finally, someone who's actually evil!
Die, you muscle-bound oaf!
Try all you want, Skeletor. I know all your tricks.
But do you know this one, He-Man? Oh no! Ah, He-Man, help me! Warriors of Skeletor, hear me! Your leader has fallen! I, Starscream, now your leader! Follow me!
Follow you? Why would I ever follow you? I have my power back. I have no need to follow anyone. Ever again! Huh, I could obey you with my animal controlling powers in a second. you say we wrap this up?
Couldn't agree more, He-Man.
Yeah!
Oh no.
Rocks! They expect to defeat me! Starscream! With rocks! How foolish do you think I am? I guess I see the danger now. Retreat! Beastman! Get me out of here, you fur balloon!
Well, I say that wraps that up, and now I see a source that gets you two back to where you belong. And as for you two, it's back to Snake Mountain for you.
Curse you, He-Man!
I am sorry, He-Man. Skeletor tricked me. I misjudged you.
I'm sorry, too. When I saw you save that child, I knew Skeletor lied. You are the good guys, not him.
Nothing to apologize for, my friends. I'll learn a valuable lesson here. Which reminds me. Today's adventure, valuable lessons were learned.
Skeletor played with forces he did not truly understand, and they had consequences for him in ways he did not expect.
It is important to always make sure you understand what the possible consequences are of your actions. Think before you act.
In a similar vein, it's also important to never judge someone before seeing who they really are. Batgirl and Ninja believed Skeletor that He-Man was evil without properly seeing how he really was.
Once they learned, saw for themselves who could be trusted and who could not be. Remember, never judge someone without giving them a chance to prove themselves first.
You know we're still here, right? Until next time! I hope you all enjoyed this video. It took a long time to figure out how to make this animation, but hopefully this video will help you accomplish your own green screen and stop motion animations. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Bye!